Matthews, Mrs. Nikki Quinn, Mrs. Jessica Benton, International Director, Region 11, DTM Ali Shabazz Ali, District 79, District Director, DTM Abdul Ghafoor, Program Quality Director, DTM Sadia Khan, Club Growth Director, DTM Palni Raj, Immediate Past District Director, DTM Madhusha Nanayakara, other distinguished district leaders, Division O Director, Toastmaster Albin Joseph, present and past division and area directors, international leaders, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. Good afternoon to all from the Middle East, Africa, and Europe region. Good evening to all those who are here from the Far East and Asia Pacific, and good morning to all from the Americas. I, Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Merlin Albin, welcome you all to the Division O Conference, webinar and panel discussion titled The Future of Jobs. I would like to begin by stating the mission of a Toastmasters Club. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Let me draw your attention to some rules to be respected during this event. All attendees must mute their audio and must enable the video at all times, unless instructed otherwise by the Zoom master. Please keep your mobile either on silent mode or switch it off throughout the course of the event. Kindly refrain from movements that distract the speaker. In case you need to move, please turn off your video before doing so. I wish you all a fantastic event, Future of Jobs, a global career fair. On this note, I hand over the control of the virtual lectern to the Division O Director, Toastmaster Albin Joseph, to do the welcome address. Toastmaster Albin, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Merlin. And it's my pleasure to welcome all the dignitaries from different parts of the globe to this novel program titled Future of Jobs. I don't want to take much of the time in detailing about it because we have people from diverse fields who are here to deliberate on it. When this program was conceptualized, what came to my mind was about this word change. We quite often speak a lot about change. And one thing, or one quote that impressed me about change is that of George Bernard Shaw, which goes like saying, progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. History has been proven testimony to a lot of failures and success. Success to those organizations or people who embraced change, and failure to those who couldn't adapt to the change. We have corporations or companies in the name of Konica and Nokia, where they failed to keep pace with the change. And today, we are at the verge of another scenario where there is a lot of revolution happening, disruptive technologies coming in, and we need to adopt to this change. And the reason why we are here is to have some insights on this scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't guarantee you a 360-degree transformation from this program. But I can tell you one thing, this is going to be value for time. The eminent personalities who have consented to spare their valuable time will definitely do justice to this particular program. And I'm sure once the program ends, there would be a lot of food for thought and a lot of pointers which will enable you to tread a right path in the changing scenario. On this note, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries, namely Dr. Prahlad Vadakkepat, Professor from National University of Singapore, Dr. Soloman Almadi, who is an integral part of our fraternity, Mr. V.K. Mathews, all the way from India, who is an entrepreneur, who has set a benchmark of its own, Mrs. Nikki Quinn, who has just now joined in from South Africa, and Mrs. Jessica Benton, all the way from US. And I would also like to welcome all the District 79 leadership team, my colleagues, and distinguished to this program. Ladies and gentlemen, we not only give insights and learnings for public speaking and leadership, but we also add value to the people. And that is the reason why we are here. While adding value, we ensure there is women empowerment. One thing we are very much focused on. And today's program is going to be completely driven by the women force of this Division O. They will be steering this ship, navigating through the Middle East, crossing the Far East, touching the Asia Pacific, through the Europe, and getting it anchored to a safe shore. And to take this ship forward, we have a gentlewoman who has proven her mettle in this Toastmasters fraternity by serving in several roles. Currently, she is the president of Eloquent Toastmasters Club, and she is also a part of the District 79 Club Growth Director team. She is an ex-banker and an educator in an international school who believes that learning is a lifelong process. And she is going to be the master of ceremony of this event. It's none other than Toastmaster Mallika Mada. And I urge each and everybody to put your virtual hands together to welcome Toastmaster Mallika to take the control of the lectern from here on.
Thank you, Division O Director Toastmaster Albin, for those elevating words. Greetings to District 79 leaders, distinguished members, and valued guests from across the globe. On behalf of Division O, I have the privilege and honor to welcome you all to a riveting webinar and panel discussion on Future of Jobs. Have you all seen the Terminator movies? Well, most of us have. Artificial intelligence is not just a thing in science fiction movies like Matrix, Robocop, or Terminator. It exists in the real world all around us. Artificial intelligence is evolving and it promises a better future. But like all technology, this is a double-edged sword. According to some recent studies, by the year 2025, almost 85 million jobs are going to be replaced by these automated machines and robots. The only thing constant in life is change. And if we do not equip ourselves to be skilled in artificial intelligence and automation, our skills might become obsolete. As artificial intelligence and automation becomes increasingly capable, will AI steal our jobs? Are we future ready? And how will this alternate labor source affect your future workforce? To clear all these conundrums, we have organized this event spearheaded by Toastmaster Albin Joseph, the Division A Director, who has come up with this one-of-a-kind webinar where we will look at the prospects and the challenges that lies ahead of us. The main highlight of our event is the keynote speech by Dr. Prahlad Vadakkepat. We have a plethora of eminent personalities who will share their insights on this very important subject during our panel discussion. This will be followed by a Q&A session. Kindly direct your questions in the chat box to our Q&A master, Toastmaster Seema Mumtaz Rizvi. To carry on with the proceedings, we have an enthusiastic Toastmaster who is a member of Prudent Family Toastmasters Club. She's a mathematics teacher who loves cooking and globetrotting. I request Toastmaster Asra Noshin to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker. Please help me welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Toastmaster. A very warm good afternoon and welcome to Toastmaster family, dignitaries, and guests. I am honored to give a brief introduction of our keynote speaker, Dr. Prahlad Vadakkepat. Dr. Prahlad is a professor at National University of Singapore, is the founder secretary of Federation of International Robot Soccer Association and was its general secretary during the year 2000 till 2016. Dr. Prahlad has over 3 decades of research expertise in artificial intelligence and robotics. His translational research had led to several startups in robotics, artificial intelligence, and 3D printing in Singapore and in India. He is an advisor to a consortium developing affordable emergency care ventilators during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Prahlad was the editor-in-chief for Springer Reference Book on Humanoid Robotics. He is an associate editor of the International Journal of Humanoid Robotics. His humanoid robotics and robot soccer team have consistently won several international prizes. Dr. Prahlad was the journal chair to the FIRA Robot World Cup and Congress Singapore 2005 and Bangalore 2010, and journal program chair to FIRA Robot World Cup in Cheong, South Korea. He heads a residential college in National University of Singapore, where proactive postal care, mentoring, and leadership training are pursued. He runs the Idea for Life Social Entrepreneurship challenge seeking design innovations which are simple and novel. He is connected to the grassroots through frugal innovation trips to India, village in India, Indonesia, and Cambodia. Dr. Prahlad has produced a full-length feature film in Malayalam language, which has received accolades at the international film festivals. And the list continues. To take us further on today's webinar, I hand over the control of the lectern back to Toastmaster Mallika Madan. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Asra. Well, I'm sure you all are prepped up and waiting with a bated breath to hear from our esteemed keynote speaker. Please help me welcome with a huge round of applause, Dr. Prahlad Vadakkepat, to share his nuggets of wisdom. Dr. Prahlad, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. Can I share the screen, please? Can you enable it for me?
Yes, you can,
Yes, you
please.
can.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, you cannot. It's not allowing me.
Please try now, sir.
Oh, got it. Yes, thank you very much. Great. Good day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Namaste, namaskaram, vanakkam, and everything to you. And Albin and family, very much grateful to be here for providing an opportunity for me to share. The task here is very difficult because I do not know most of you and the background, exposure, experience. So let me try my best. And I would like to say at this time of COVID, let us help each other. I've been working in robotics and AI for a long time. And frugal innovation or grassroots innovation is close to my heart. And lately, the AI has become so much engrossed in what is known as big data through Internet of Things, sensor readings, and what is known as deep learning. These are going to change our lives. We need to know what it is. I'm also an entrepreneur. I enjoy entrepreneurship challenges. So some pictures in this presentation are taken from internet, and those are being used for academic purposes only. So let us go back in time. 5 to 10 million years ago, we started walking on 2 legs. I do research in 2-legged robots, bipedal robots. Why this 2-legged creatures or 2-legged walking is important? That was the biggest leap in mankind, wherein our common ancestor, the chimpanzees, they were capable of making tools. and they had knowledge about the habitat, but they could not predict and they could not do hypothesis. And when we freed our two arms, we could make tools, and cognition evolved. We could hold our babies, have the sociality aspect, language, communication. We evolved. That was the first major leap in mankind. And you can see that bipedalism, working on two legs, made a lot of impacts on our brain also. The brain size improved. And there is a hypothesis that the fire that came in 700 K made another leap. And people say the cooking hypothesis, why fire makes us human. Because cooking had profound evolutionary effect. Efficiency of the food increased, and our ancestors could spend less time for foraging, chewing, and digesting. That increased our brain size, our cognition enhanced. We became what we are. And we moved on. Art came into existence, different revolutions, cities, industrial revolution in 1960s and 1970s, 1760s in industrial revolution, 1970s, technological revolution. And we may project by 2050, humanoid robots will pitch against human soccer team. Yet to happen. I've been working for the last 2 decades on humanoids. Walking on 2 legs is the most difficult thing on earth. If you can walk on 2 legs, your brain is so advanced. And as a professor, I feel ashamed when we evaluate our brain based on our examinations. Okay, so we need to understand how powerful our brain is, how good it is. It is not meant for examinations. It is meant for survival. It is meant for sociality. It is meant for human connectedness, empathy, and all that aspects. But are we using only for that? Or are we confining to certain money-based aspects of life, which is redefined? I want to say this because at a later point in time, I connect all these things in a context. So bipedalism, fire, and later electricity in 1752 made a lot of difference to our lives. And we say AI, which started in 1950, will make another major leap, which is unprecedented. And millions of years took for bipedalism to fire, and many centuries took from fire to electricity. From electricity to AI took only a couple of centuries, but AI will transform our lives in decades. In 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, not long. So we need to be prepared for it. And if you look at the waves of innovation, vacuum tubes, microwaves, IC chips, computers, internet, social media, from 1910 to 2010, a century, we could see all kinds of technological developments, equipments, products, and think of the mobile phone sitting in our pockets. It is more powerful than the computer used for Apollo mission. And what is in store for us? What is that we need to be prepared for? The 4th industrial revolution, where all the systems are being connected, just like Internet of Things, you have Internet of Systems. And this involves autonomous robots, robots capable of moving around by themselves, all the sensors are connected to the internet. It could be intranet. In cloud, we have a lot of data. This data is processed using artificial intelligence, and the computing takes in the cloud. And then added to this, for data security, we have what is known as blockchain, Bitcoin, and all those things you are familiar with. And additive manufacturing is 3D printing. Not apart from subtractive, it is quite different. You add on. You can make food. You can make your dental fillings. You can have supports for your arms or bio-related issues, and augmented reality to teach, to train, to evaluate. So all these are contributing to the fourth industrial revolution. It is not one technology or domain. And the future of the factory will be totally different. There is something known as, light out industry. Most of the existing industrial robots, if you switch off all the lights, nothing will happen. The lights are for humans to see. They are pre-programmed. Pick, place, do something, well-defined mathematics. But with AI and vision and other sensing, you may not be able to switch off everything like that. So predictive machine analytics, if something is going to wrong in the future, when that can go wrong? Can we act early in time so that whatever activity is going on will not be disrupted? So I do research in this area right now. What is the impact of this? Even the vehicles that you use, petrol, diesel, if you predict everything and nothing can go wrong, a lot of jobs can vanish on the streets, if you go to India for that matter. And electric vehicles come in, then majority of the jobs of maintaining or repairing the diesel or petrol engines will vanish. That happened when a transition from cathode ray tube television to flat television. You can imagine that. So robots can share the space and time and bandwidth with humans. And wearables will be the robot exoskeletons can be there. Unmanned trucks can be around. Computer vision is so hot. And all these are going to transform our lives. So the fourth industrial revolution, automotive, will have an impact of 10 to 20, components 20 to 30, food and beverages 20 to 30, and in several areas, that is the way it is going to impact. Efficiency improvement, reduction in carbon footprint, and less maintenance, less breakdown, and improvement in the quality of the product. So the cyber physical systems will involve computation, control, and communication. So these areas are going to be very hot. With 5G, things will transform a lot. Currently, the issue is you have to do the AI analytics in the cloud. Communication is an issue, but what is known as latency. With 5G, that is going to go quick. You can do the computations anywhere in the world, and that is going to transform things. So that will have very interesting impact on efficient production processes, new marketing and business models, and stronger customer centricity. We can make customized products for a customer. And if you look at business models, companies cannot work in isolation. So when I was introduced by one of your friends, I lead a consortium where 3 companies come where the boundaries vanish. You need to have code development, inclusive leadership, and in that process, we can reinvent the wheel. I would like to reiterate, you can reinvent the wheel. And that is what is happening in many places. So this is the new mantra, and which companies are trying to really incorporate. So closed innovation is the traditional way of doing it because of not having all the knowledge about everything. One company cannot do everything internally. So you should have to have collaboration. And this is going to be the norm or the way ahead for bringing in borderless, multi-cross-disciplinary approach for handling or managing or solving complex problems. So AI and robotics, there are a lot of opportunities, but we need to understand the context. What is known as the sliding autonomy. What is the sliding autonomy? Sliding autonomy is something, how much we are capable of doing, how much we cannot do in terms of, 1 minute, let me clear out the drawings. Okay. So intelligence is what you use when you don't know what to do. That's why every moment in life we have that. And I would like to say that the truth is based on the knowledge of our time. As knowledge changes, so does the truth. And the truth maintenance system is a field of research in computer science, and we work on that. So the more we know, the better. So AI came from philosophy, cognitive science, math, psychology, computer science, engineering. It is being applied to robotics, language, theorem, game playing, etc. It's a very established area. But what happened is computation technology and changed a lot. New algorithms came in, a lot of data is available, and then the challenges changed. And this led to machine learning. And very basics, just like a teacher teaching A for apple, associate memory, there is what is known as supervised learning. The circular and rectangular are colored. You teach, draw a line to separate them. That is classification. But if you have a number of points like COVID data, you will know when it will peak, you can predict. That is known as regression curve fitting. And you will be able to know what is going to happen in the future. That is prediction. And if you don't know much about anything, for example, in Calicut, Kerala, India, Nipah virus came for the first time. Nobody knew about it. And one particular question by a doctor made the whole difference. It doesn't have that, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, it has this, it has that feature, this feature. So it cannot be this, it cannot be that, it cannot be C, it cannot be D. It has to be something else. That is the knowledge. How much you don't know defines how much you know. And we can put certain clusters. And this is what is known as clustering in COVID time. And this is very useful to really understand the similar features of data. And we'll be able to differentiate that particular cluster from another cluster. And then when you have a pattern, you'll be able to know when something is deviating from normal behavior, and anomaly detection can be used in industries in a big way. So this is the second part, one called unsupervised learning, where it can learn by itself. There is no ground truth. There is no teacher. The third one is reinforcement learning. You might have heard about AlphaGo game defeated the world champion Go champion. That program was not written by humans. It was written by machines. And the dimensions it can handle much wider and bigger. So reinforcement learning is something what we do. You go to your kitchen, the mother teaches you or father teaches you how to cook sambar, the recipe. And it's a sequence of actions, sequence of states and action pairs. Then when you drink or consume the sambar, you say it is good. Then you give a feedback, delayed feedback to all the previous actions, and you'll continue to learn that. And if the sambar is very bad, then you will not give the rewards and you will discard what you have done before. That's what reinforcement learning is. And this is making a lot of inroads in a lot of situations. And mainly AI, in a very common man's point of view, it's a non-linear mapping from input to output. But here, 3-dimension I'm showing, we can imagine, but think of 1,000 dimensions, 2,000 dimensions, 100,000 dimensions. We cannot imagine that. Human brain cannot handle it, but machines can. And another impact will be the quantum computing comes into picture. The computational bottlenecks currently existing will have another major blow to the development. I mean, another major development in the happening with AI applications. So 1950s AI started. AI died at that time because only symbol manipulation was possible. So the name Prahlad is a symbol for Prahlad. That Prahlad cannot capture the changes in my hair, in my mush, which I removed, my age. So it cannot capture the changes in time. And that was the bottleneck of AI. That changed in 1980, with symbols can be differentiated. If you remember the differential equations from schools, remember that. That is a fundamental rock foundation of AI, change. And we do that. So let me give an analogy or an example here. Don't take it in the general ways. If you want to influence your father, the best way is to tweak your mother. And mother can influence father. So that is the differential equation. You can make a difference in father because you make a difference to the mother. And that's what it is all about. So multiple variables and all that. And 2010 came deep learning. And this transformed everything. The different levels of abstractions of concepts and representations, which humans cannot do beyond. Maybe Shakuntala Devi, Einstein, some people can do that. But now the machines can do it. It got applied to vision, recognition, forecasting, prediction, and all that. And that transformed. And I would like to also say, by looking at ourselves, we learned a lot from biology. So you look at, there is something called genetic algorithm. Male and female mate, exchange genes, X, Y chromosome. X is 1, Y is 0, zeros and 1, binary. You can code all the genetics in humans in an equivalent way in computational space. You can have parents, you can have mating, and also mutation, and 0 to 1 and 1 to 0 is mutation, and you can have babies. You can create a large number of parents. They can mate in any way. There is no social rule. And they can create large number of children, and only the fittest will survive. There will be an objective function to survive that. So this has made a lot of difference. To tell you an example, when my first company was in Bangalore in 2008, somebody walked into my office. Prof, I came to know about this genetic algorithm. Okay, I don't know anything about it, but I used it. For what? Okay, there are different tile manufacturers. A particular developer has the standard sizes for the BHK, the bedroom, hall, and kitchen. And can we come up with an optimal size of the tiles so that you don't have to cut it? Because when you cut, pollution, electricity, and all the damages lost. And he did it. He conveyed that to somebody. I did not follow it up later on. It's an optimization tool. Optimization meaning increase efficiency, reduce the wastage. Similarly, looking at the bees, colony of ants, swarm, and firefly algorithms are there. You know, Uber, Ola, Grab, they use artificial bee algorithm. In a region of interest, a lot of requests for a car and number of vehicles, how do you allocate them? Bees are capable of doing that. Bees are the best natural traveling salesman people. Okay, so we can learn from this. All these algorithms are there. Now with that, what I'm going to say is traditionally for simple tasks, machines were good. For complex tasks, machines were not good. Simple tasks meaning drawing a straight line is simple from mathematics point of view. But hugging somebody, shaking hand, understanding the emotions, empathy, very complex. Humans were good at complex tasks, not for simple tasks. That's why it is very difficult for us to learn A for apple. 2 + 3 = 5. Oh my goodness, what is this? And we spent hours and days and months and years for learning this. Now we are all going to be the same, but machines with deep learning, advances in computation is capable of doing complex tasks, which humans used to do so far. Now, with that, a lot of jobs will be displaced. A lot of jobs will vanish from Earth. And this is not going to confine to engineering or science. Every space, it is going to change, impact. So email, social media, entertainment, vision, aerospace, defense, business, HR, finance, cybersecurity, data, utilities, everywhere. I will talk about a lot of jobs will be vanishing. What kinds of jobs will be there in 2025? So one of the speakers mentioned 2025, 87 million jobs will vanish. That is a World Economic Forum October 2020 report. And that we have to be mindful of. And every field is going to be impacted. And we need to be ahead of time. So to give an example, this is a company in China. Before AI and robotics, 650 employees, after 60, 90% reduction, number of robots, 65. Defects came down from 25 to 5%. Production per person increased from 8,000 to 21,000. And what is the advantage of this? The price of those goods will come down as well. So more people will buy, more production will happen, and economy will thrive. So we have to see it from that angle. Now, these jobs will be lost, but a lot of jobs will be created for making robots, repair, maintenance, algorithms, sensing, cloud, communication, data analytics, visualization, everything. So quite a lot of new jobs will come up. It is coming up. So there is another one, which some of you might be knowing already. There is, just like Industry 4.0, there is what is known as Web 3.0, where AI-driven services, computing going to the edges, and the networks being decentralized, a new era of internet is, or Web 3.0 is going to come. This will be very interesting. For example, Bitcoin, why it is so important? When Bitcoin becomes common, no banks are required. Bank is just merely an entity to safeguard your physical assets. So people are talking about non-fungible tokens, which will not damage. So even art has been formed, people can sell online. And the advantage of, say, for example, Bitcoin is that the data structure, once you create, once you have your information there as you own it, nobody can do anything with that. You own it unless you transfer it. And one particular bank in this part of area approached me some time back, one of the private banks. You know what they did? In 2019, they asked all the employees, don't come to office. Your salary will be paid fully till you retire. Don't come here. They automated everything. And why they didn't ask them to come? Because when humans come to office, they don't like to see what is happening. And as far as our jobs are concerned, as long as we get paid, we don't worry. This is a way to think, way things are happening. So Web 1, Web 2, you could see a lot of things happening. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Maker, Ocean. These are all the, Bitcoin-related, high security related things happening. And in Kerala state, in Kannur, 100 crores of rupees were just cheated because of something of this kind. So there are a lot of things happening in this world. I'm not sure what happens soon, but a lot of things are happening. And in order to take care of Industry 4.0, Web 3.0, in different countries have different initiatives. I may not be doing justice to every country here. Manufacturing Renaissance in US, Fabrication Wausau, and Make in India, Made in China, Precision Manufacturing in Singapore, Industry 4.0 in Germany. So this is being ushered in. And we need to understand another aspect from the purely AI side. There is something known as digital labor. This is redefining the dignity of being human. We do all kinds of dull, dangerous, dirty jobs. So you look at the jobs outsourced. When somebody is supposed to sleep, they have to work. Is that biologically right? No, you can automate it. So it will eliminate dull, dangerous, dirty jobs. And human labor, whatever humans are doing, clicking on the screen can be captured. And then AI can learn the transitions and all the clicks. That is the robot process automation. And the very important point is any job where you don't have a discretionary power, no decision-making power, you follow SOP, standard operating procedure, can be automated, will be automated, that will vanish on Earth. Soon, 5 to 10 years. And digital labor will be a large number of firms on cloud will do most of the jobs. So you look at the chatbots being used. Most of the things can be done there. And this is 232 billion overall spending by 2025. 20x increase. And that's the rate at which is going on. KPMG says 49% of respondents will be using intelligent automation and AI technologies. I'll tell you one example. One of my part-time students working in a port here has to take care of 2,000 hour cameras. It'll take multiple days for him to check everything is working or not. So he bought a RPA software, robot processing automation. And he embedded an AI in that to check whether the camera is working or not. And all the 2,000 plus cameras, he could test it within hours. You see the importance of it. Security point of view, maintenance point of view, and be ahead of time to get before something goes wrong. And that is the power of it. So traditionally, we used to say, act like human, and we had rules. All the rules, SOPs, can be automated now. Then we can learn from humans. That is also possible. The next level is reasoning. There are a lot of work happening, contextualized reasoning, and a lot of possibilities exist, but it is yet to happen. And eventually, the point is think like human. And that will be a transformational change, but it will take a lot of time because our consciousness is not easy to understand. We are extremely good at being in a space, being in a time. So this is my humanoid robot. So I have to prove that I am not a robot now. Think of the irony. And when will a robot will start thinking, I do not choose to believe that I am a robot. And cyborgs are already there. Okay, so robotic and cognitive automation is happening now, and a lot of SOPs are being changed, and that is digital labor, redefining the dignity of being human. And Sundar Pichai made a comment, profound comment. AI could have more profound implications for humanity than electricity or fire. Remember what I started with. If he can say that, we need to take it extremely serious. And there are promising scenarios where enhanced cognition and autonomy, smart mobility and human environment, this is very tough because we are two-legged. All our built spaces are made for two-legged creatures. There will be transformations in civil engineering, architectural space. Singapore already started it. COVID accelerated multiple times because we have to depend on foreign workers. Now they want to, that dependency has to be brought down. So design in civil architectural space, how robots can be incorporated during construction and how to maintain it easily. That is a way it is happening soon. And eventually all spaces where humans and robots have to coexist. That is the way it is going to. And I would like to say, the old IQ is about how smart you are. The new IQ is about how smart you make your team. And we cannot work alone. So this is one of your speakers mentioned, 97 million new jobs will emerge in 2025, where labor among humans, machines, and algorithms will be happening. And this is as per 2020 October World Economic Forum. And 85 million jobs will be displaced by 2025, 85 million, but 97 million new things will come. So our syllabuses have to change. Our training has to change. Our mindset has to change. And it is very important. And the decreasing demand for jobs, all the data entry clerks, administrative, executive secretaries, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, accountants, assembly, everything you follow SOP and rule-based things will vanish. You don't need all that. And in different countries, depending upon the policies and sons of soil related positioning, there could be boundaries being closed for their own citizens, or they may protect their own citizens, but it will vary from place to place, from country to country. And data analytics, AI, big data, digital marketing, process automation, business development, all these are going to be increasing in demand. And the top 15 skills will be analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem solving, creativity, leadership, and quite a lot of things, resilience, reasoning, emotional intelligence. These are all the persuasion and negotiation. Those are all going to be the skills required. So be prepared for a lifetime of careers. I tell my students in everywhere, wherever I get an opportunity, don't think of a career for lifetime. The boundaries are vanishing. You need to have multiple skills, be agile and ready to learn new things. So this year in National University of Singapore, we made the first 2 years of curriculum common across. AI is essential there. Digital literacy is essential there. Project management is essential there. Design thinking is essential there. The earlier we do, the better. And we have a master's program. I teach this program. One of the modules here, core modules about Industry 4.0. If you are interested, you may opt for. We get a lot of people from Saudi Arabia, funded by the government, Saudi government. And my talks are there in my website and YouTube channel. So with that, I would like to stop my presentation and ready to take questions.
That was truly an enriching presentation and definitely a value addition for all of us. I particularly liked how he emphasized on the fact that evolution of cryptocurrency and Web 3.0 is the next big thing that we should watch for. Also, the new mantra, reinvent the wheel, wherein co-development, collaborations, and inclusiveness will be the new norm for us industries. At the same time, it was heartening to hear that 97 million new jobs will be created thanks to AI. Dear audience, please help me in thanking our valued guest speaker for this enlightening session. It's time to invite a young and energetic medical student who has graduated from Tbilisi State Medical University, Georgia, and is currently pursuing her bachelor's program in clinical psychology from University of Northampton, United Kingdom. Let us all welcome Toastmaster Shamara Azhar, who will be taking us through the panel discussion. Toastmaster Shamara, I hand over the control of the virtual lectern to you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Malika, for that introduction. Dignitaries from around the world, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored guests, greetings from wherever you are. As introduced, my name is Shamara, and I'll be the moderator for today's panel discussion. It is my absolute honor and privilege to be conducting this segment of the webinar, as we have an eminent panel of professionals, the masters of today's topic of interest from different regions of the world as our panelists. Just moments ago, we listened to an insightful keynote address by Dr. Prahlad, who will also be joining in on the panel discussion as well. Give us all a brand new perspective on the current status of various working industries. So today, our panelists will further enlighten us on this topic. And having read their profiles, I cannot think of anyone better than our panelists today who would be more apt for this task. Before I introduce these esteemed individuals, I'd like to convey a gentle reminder to our audience. During the discussion, if you have any questions regarding what is being discussed, please drop in a message to the Q&A master, Toastmaster Seema Rizvi, on her personal chat via Zoom with your queries and which panelist you'd rather have it answered by. At the end of the discussion and during the Q&A segment, your questions will be directed to our panelists as time permits. Having said that, allow me to introduce the members of our panel today. Our first panelist holds a PhD in engineering, currently a senior consultant in Saudi Aramco and a credited inventor for his contributions towards cybersecurity, digital transformation, and the intelligence field. He is the recipient of many awards, prominently that of the 2018 King Salman's Award for the Inventor of the Year, the 2019 Leadership Excellence Award from the International Society of Automation, and is the winner of the 2020 International Innovation Excellence Award. He is also none other than District 79's very own past district director during the year of 2016 to 2017, and was awarded by Toastmasters International for making District 79 the top district in the world in terms of growth and among the top 10 districts in terms of quality. The Division M and District 79 advisor with 18 years of experience in the Toastmasters fraternity, and an inspiration to many, both young and old, including myself. He is none other than Dr. Soloman Almadi. It is an absolute honor to have you here with us today, sir.
Thank you very much.
Second panelist holds a master's degree in aeronautical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology and received his executive management education from Harvard Business School, Boston, USA. He is the founder and executive chairman of the IBS Group, a multinational corporation poised to be the #1 IT solution provider to the global air transportation industry. He currently chairs several institutions, including Trivandrum Agenda Task Force and Trivandrum City Connect Foundation. He is also an advisory member of several high-profile organizations, including the Kerala Chief Minister's High Power Digital Advisory Committee, the Higher Education Council, and the Board of Directors of the Kerala ICT Academy, a recipient of many awards, including the 2019 Visionary of the Times Award, IT Man of the Year Award, Enterprise Excellence Award, and an honorary doctorate awarded by the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science for his contribution to the aviation industry. Ladies and gentlemen, he is none other than Mr. V.K. Matthews. We are honored to have you with us today, sir. Our next panelist is yet another prominent individual who has spent most of her career in the corporate sector, working with clients in all corners of the world while offering insights to organizations as diverse as Coca-Cola, Unilever, Toyota, and Microsoft, helping them develop their customer service innovation initiatives as well as marketing and sales effectiveness. Having joined Toastmasters in March of 2009, she is a past district director of 9 countries in Southern Africa and is none other than Miss Nikki Quinn. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today, Miss Nikki. Last, but definitely not the least, our fourth panelist for today holds a master's degree in management and has spent over 20 years working in the higher education sector at the North Central Technical College in Wausau, Wisconsin. She currently works with educators and helps prepare learners for Industry 4.0 initiatives and the future of the automated workspace. Her passion is to remove barriers for underrepresented learners and better prepare them for success upon entering the competitive workforce. She is none other than Ms. Jessica Benton, and we consider it our privilege to have you with us today, Ms. Jessica. We also welcome Dr. Prahlad to this panel discussion and look forward for more of your words of wisdom on this subject. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen, our panelists for this evening. We witnessed an insightful keynote address by Dr. Prahlad just a couple of moments ago, and the psychologist in me has a lot of questions myself. So I would like to direct my first question to Dr. Soloman Almadi, who is the inspiration to many of the Middle Easterners, and ask him, how has the role of AI changed and caused an impact in the past 5 years from a Middle Eastern perspective? And what do you predict will happen in the next 5 to 10 years of industrial adoption of AI?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much to our speaker and to our panelists. It's very inspiring, motivating to hear our speaker. Well, Middle East is coping with the world movement into digitalization in many fronts, I would say, over the past many years, will continue to be. And I would like to acknowledge the fact that whether the Gulf region or the surrounding countries around are taking basically the lead in that domain. Whether it's in the oil gas business, making use of the latest technologies in reservoir optimizations, in discovery, in the biomedical, whether it is in the trade and the business. As you all know, if we have transport, I mean, today, basically, we have abundance of applications at our fingertips. And with automation, everything is being delivered to our homes. We are taking advantage of all technologies, and that's the beauty about Middle East, especially the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with no exclusions to the Gulf countries around us. The future, definitely the future is very promising, and there is major investments pretty much in all fronts. You see a lot of startups, a lot of content being developed locally. Many major companies are moving to the region, whether it's Google's, Amazon's, and these are major companies in the domains of service delivery, AIs, and basically application that brings with it a lot of possibilities to all of us. So the Middle East, it's typically in the middle of the world, and in this movement, we are in the, I would say, not in the middle. We are basically coping with the world to be in the front line. There is a lot of collaborations, companies from India, even Singapore's. I am involved in the International Society of Automations, where we develop standards in these different domains, and I work with professionals across the globe. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have the academic baseline to bring the best talents of the future, as well as the human capital that has the power and the capital investments to grow. So that's what I see the Middle East is to be a key player in the movement in the future. Thank you.
All right, so we heard Dr. Prahlad say that with COVID, there was a trigger in the use of AI. What would you say about it? Was it the same scenario in the Middle East also?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the COVID, basically 19 has transformed everyone. In fact, some of killer applications that we have here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and how we manage from the intensity of the COVID to the profiling of the people, to the health and basically the overall integrity of our operations. It's all based on artificial intelligence, advanced data analytics, data mining is an attribute that's basically being pulled by high computing systems that are employed to simply cater the best capabilities in serving the economy. And you can see that as we resume out of COVID, that it's a very well managed, and the credit goes into the software capabilities that we have employed in this part of the world. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Soloman. We will be hearing from you shortly in a little while, but I would like to invite the IT man of tonight's session. So, Mr. V.K. Matthews, you have set a benchmark of your own in this IT industry and having employed more than 3,000 people across the globe. I would like to hear from you on this particular question. What is the specific trajectory of your industry, and where will your industry likely augment human value and contribution through automation that will require better skilled and constantly evolving human workers?
Yes, so I am from the IT field, but we work in the travel sector, which is one of the hardest hit sectors, as you can understand. Before going into specifically answer your question, I just would like to reframe the setup, the situation that we are in. We are all aware of it, but I just want to give some sort of a contextual relevance. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the digital economy. We don't quite know. It's about 14 to 15% as per the 2019 United Nations report. The size of digital economy is about 14.5% of the global economy. And the sector that I represent, my target sector, travel, dates back to the beginning of humanity. It is not even 10% of the global GDP. Now, if I give you an overview, not that you don't know, the digital economy is powered by our ability to collect, process, and analyze massive amount of digital data. And this economy is evolving at breakneck speed. When I talk to the leaders of countries and leaders of communities, we can really see the digital disparity, the economic disparity. It creates massive amount of wealth in rapid times. And in fact, most of that wealth is concentrated in the hands of few countries, companies, and finally few individuals, which creates issues for people who govern countries. And it also has created a massive value chain, a data value chain, by firms which specialize in processing massive amount of digital data to create digital intelligence, which they can monetize by commercial use. And one of the things that we notice from a technology point of view, the single biggest driver is platformization. Platformization is, if you really look at the 7 of the 8 largest companies in the world, they have platform-based business models. There are two types of platforms, as you know. One is transaction platform. The other one is collaborative innovation platforms. Like, for instance, Alibaba, Amazon, all of them use platforms. They are transaction platforms. Whereas Android and iOS, these are platforms which help people to come and collaborate and innovate together. And I also just want to put the whole thing in perspective. That is, we have heard about economic divide between the developed northern and southern hemisphere of the world. But whereas when it comes to digital economy, the divide is actually not between North and South, it is between two countries, United States and America. If you really look at 75% of all of the blockchain patents, 50% of IoT spent, and 75% of the cloud market, public cloud market, and 90% of the digital economy, the market capitalization of the digital economy is between these two countries. And in fact, if you really look at the trade frictions between these two countries in the recent past, is a reflection of their quest to achieve global dominance on this frontier technology. So the way in which we produce, the way in which we distribute, the way in which we consume, the way in which we operate, all of it has changed completely. That's actually changed. So now when it comes to any country, when it comes to any industry, see, COVID has accelerated the trends. These technologies existed even before COVID, but COVID has accelerated the trends, particularly the adoption of technology. And there is something else we should know, and this is linked to future of jobs. The people who were influenced deeply by COVID-19 on technology adoption is a group within the age group of 50 to 70. These people used to talk about technology, but never internalized it. I can see his chief executives having their assistants printing emails and giving to them for signature and approval. All of that has actually changed. In fact, I was talking to one of the most eminent lawyers who was practicing in the International Court of Justice in Geneva. And he was saying he was a proponent of technology but never used it. And the first time he has participated in a webinar, first time he was actually speaking was during this time. The point that I'm making is the people in that age group mostly are the people who run countries, companies and communities. And they have now become the proponent of digital transformation, which is going to make huge impact. So coming back to, I think Professor Prahlad has given a very good view of how the future of jobs are going to be. With the available technologies as it is existing today, not because of the technologies of tomorrow, we can automate. McKinsey in 2016, the MGI, the McKinsey Institute of Global Institute has come up with a study. With the available technologies, we will be able to automate almost 50% of all the jobs in the United States. For instance, the jobs that will get automated are the ones which involve data collection, data processing, and also repetitive human intensive jobs. This can be, and 50% of all the jobs in the United States actually belong to this category. And that's what Dr. Prahlad from the World Economic Forum report said, where you will find the jobs getting destroyed and where the jobs getting added. Now, when it comes to countries like India or South Asia that I'm supposed to speak about, this is going to create a lot of implications because they will resist this change. Because is it going to happen immediately? It will not happen immediately because this job displacement is going to create a lot of insecurity and uncertainty for the people who are going to lose the job. And politically, this is a great thing for them to resist. The labor dynamics, cost of change, plus the political acceptance is going to change. And therefore, countries which are developing ones will require greater resolve for us to actually embrace this change. Now, clearly, all of the existing jobs in countries like India, in this part, 50% of that would require upskilling, 50% of them, and reskilling. So again, that was the first reaction. The change is going to be so much. And then if we were to be making a recommendation, private companies have to take a greater responsibility in skilling the people to be able to work in the new paradigm. And government has to put the safety net to make sure that those whose jobs are getting displaced are supported enough through this transition. And the good and the bad thing is that this transition is going to be a continuous transition. So that's where I would leave. There are many other areas and the nuances there. For example, if I say personalization is the single biggest trend that is going to influence our business and life post-COVID and with this change. Personalization means providing your beneficiary or consumer customer whatever that he wants than what you have. This is not only in the travel field that I am in, this is in every single area. For example, take education. I'm sure one of the panelists is an expert in that area. If you look at education, we are used to a supply-focused system. You go to the college, brick and mortar college, and whatever that they prepare is what our guys will do the degrees and diplomas. Now, it doesn't have to be like that. The degrees and the diplomas can give way to micro-credentials. The thinking about the lectures in physical, in-person lectures gives way actually to virtual lectures. And the supply side to demand side. Huge opportunities, except that we have to be open to it. I don't want to take more airtime, so I will stop here for the next one.
I thank you very much, Mr. Matthews, for that clear and concise explanation for your question. And I will be coming back to you in a while as well. But before that, I would like to re-emphasize on what Dr. Prahlad said during the keynote speech, that 30% of the food and beverage industry will be impacted, and there's a decreasing demand in for sales representatives. So my next question is for you, Ms. Nikki Quinn. So you have been associated with some of the top-notch multinational companies in the FMCG industry. And this is one industry which employs millions of frontline sales personnel. With the adoption of AI, what do you foresee about these sales jobs and the livelihoods of these individuals?
Well, of course, one of the big things across the globe is that there is a great move towards e-commerce, right? And that encompasses not only FMCG, but a number of other industries as well. I mean, I recently saw in the UK, buying a motor vehicle online and having it basically delivered in a box to your home. So things are changing very, very quickly. There's been this desire for digital transformation over the last 10 years, and it has been accelerated to a great degree by COVID. But it's also very different across the globe. For instance, the e-commerce across every single region around the globe just about is somewhere between 30 and 40%. Here in Africa, however, we are still struggling to get into double digits. But I do believe that it's going to have a significant impact on jobs across all industries, not just FMCG, particularly sales jobs. And here in Africa, there's already a large number of high unemployment rate of around 30 to 40%, depending upon which country you're in. So it's obviously a huge concern. But I think there are also a number of other factors that impact on the growth of e-commerce and the impact that it's going to have in Africa, and particularly the less developed countries. And that is our access to basic infrastructure. So at the moment, I actually have no electricity in my home. And I live in Johannesburg, which is probably one of the most sophisticated countries on the African continent. And at the moment, we are going through what many of you will have heard of, what some of you will have not heard of, and it's load shedding. So electricity is where people have access to electricity is being reduced at the moment, but also there are many areas across the continent that don't have the same level of access to electricity that somebody living in Johannesburg does have. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, but it's obviously a worry, and it is going to impact on salespeople in FMCG industries and others across the globe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nikki, for that concise explanation. Yes, I think that is a bit of a concern, but before we hear more on it, I would like to turn to Ms. Jessica, who is joining us all the way from the USA, and I believe it's the very early hours for you, but you're looking as fresh as a daisy, so it's good. My question for you, Ms. Jessica, is you are in the higher education sector, as we know. So what are some ways you encourage young learners to make a difference in the automated workspace, and what critical changes will have to be made to face the future effectively?
Thank you so very much for your question. And I am humbled by the amazing people I'm sitting on this panel with today. So thank you so very much for this opportunity to speak. What Dr. Prahlad spoke to earlier, and Mr. Matthews also had spoke to earlier, was the importance of education and infrastructure. There is going to be a loss with any major transition. There is going to be a loss of existing jobs. So what we need to do is we need to prepare learners for the future, what is going to be coming in the next phases. And so we spend a lot of time looking at those soft skills that was part of the keynote presentation. So we look at how making sure it is second nature to, by the time we graduate our students, to have empathy and EQ and be able to work in a diverse work environment and a global community as well. Even here in Wisconsin, we have very many multinational corporations that have headquarters here, and people have to be prepared for that. So it is tearing down some of those socioeconomic barriers and making education accessible, but also working on not just technical skills, which will be needed. My college is in the process of building a lights out space, 10,000 square foot lights out space. And we are piloting it with manufacturing industries, but we will be also using that space when we start bringing in transportation technologies and healthcare technologies. So this is big. It is transformational, and we are going to, as a global community, we have to look at where those knowledge gaps are and those pain points are, because people are going to need infrastructure, and that needs to be supported by government and by corporations. If people aren't willing to pay to upskill their workforce, you can't kick this down the road. You know, this is happening now. You know, my son is graduating from university, and you know, in his lifetime, in his professional lifetime, things are going to be vastly different than what they are now. My career in the last 20 years has drastically changed because of technology. And you have to learn, you have to be a lifelong learner, but you also have to instill that culture of lifelong learning in those next generations so that they are prepared. I think technology, the Generation Zs and those who are coming up now who have, don't know what a rotary phone was or what a, they grew up in a digital age. So they're going to be accustomed to the need to be agile, more so than my generation, or as we've talked about, other people, older populations in their ability to adapt. So I think it's more about adopting that soft skill, empathy culture. And as again, in the keynote presentation, looking to, instead of having a competitive economic culture, building a collaborative one, because that's just the way the future is going to be. And, I look forward to living in the Star Trek world, but I don't know that it's going to happen in my lifetime.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jessica. Yes, being an undergrad myself, I truly attest to what you said, and being prepared with empathy and those soft skills, which we have our elders to look up to. So thank you for being an inspiration to all of us. So we have a couple of questions coming in from the audience, but before I get into our audience questions, I'd like to revert back to Dr. Soloman for one last question for you, sir. Your career has been remarkable with several innovations in the oil and gas industry, and which is the pillar of this region's economy. So could you please share us your views on the future of technical as well as non-technical jobs in this sector with the adoption of AI?
Sorry, well, oil and gas is no different. Actually, it will get the lion's share of the technology, and whether it is from how you process the petrochemicals, whether it's how you optimize the reservoir and the complete value chain of this industry. Definitely, we already have actually major milestones in this domain, from advancement in the sensor technology, which is a crucial aspect of AI. Without information, you really cannot do anything, as you know. Information is power. It gives you the data, and from there you can go ahead and run it through these machine learning models to simply better optimize the operation and predict. I love what Dr. mentioned about the predictive maintenance in the manufacturing, and in the oil and gas, we rely heavily on machineries that it's very powerful and it's very expensive. And to be able to enable a preventive maintenance, as well as the ability to reduce the repair time, increasing availability, it goes into ensuring that we have a sustainable operation. Another important factor here that I would like to talk about is something called digital twin, which simply replicates the end-to-end operation from an operational performance in the field. In fact, we are taking it one step further from a project management perspective. As we construct, we simply have a digital twin of what we are building. And the digital twin goes into from the physical aspect to even from the purchasing, the overall program management aspect of the project, all the way up to the readiness of the facilities to receive and process oil. So definitely, like I mentioned earlier, oil and gas will be getting and is already actually in the frontier of employing these technologies. And we are very proud to say this. I'm part of a company that is basically a global company in the oil and in the energy, I would say, not just oil and gas, that employ the best technologies in the world that the world can bring forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Soloman, for your wise words. Now I would like to revert to some questions from the audience. I have received a couple, and this question is for Dr. Prahlad. Dr. Prahlad, a member in the audience wants to know, What type of undergraduate courses do they offer in line with the new job market today?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question, and I like to look at it from two angles. One is courses for education, not for job. Okay, this is one important point we miss most times. So if you take India, always people look for the employability. I mean, that is required, but it is for the education. And if you take Industry 4.0, if it is related to engineering and sciences, then I would suggest you to go for engineering as well as science related. And in engineering, also, if you look at in certain spaces, people do not go for certain courses because of the delay in understanding the value of a course. So if you look at IoT, so Internet of Things is so important, but in electronics and communication is not being selected in some parts, especially in India, as far as I know. And mechanical engineering is preferred in some spaces. So at this moment, as it is progressing, we cannot work in silos. You need to have multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary aspects. For example, a robot, it has got mechanical engineering, structural aspects, electronics, electrical, communication, sensing, sociality, cloud related, data analytics, AI, everything is there. So every educational space, as far as I am concerned, is important. And one of the companies which developed the cockpits for aircrafts, the CTO was an experimental psychologist. Ethnography and design thinking, because a pilot gets into an issue, how quickly he or she can come back to conscious stage, and how quickly he or she be able to reach out to the most important panels in front of him or her. And this cannot be done by engineers. It cannot be done by certain people. You need to have special training. So when I teach innovation enterprise, I do say, you need to have all kinds of people in a team. But in certain countries, every industrial space is not growing. So for example, India, the IT industry has really mushroomed a lot. It has created a lot of jobs. But that does not mean that other engineering courses or science courses are not important. So I would say this way, whatever we take, please do good in that space and explore. So I don't want to say one course is better and the other course is not good. I work with linguists and they use AI, natural language processing. So I don't want to say that this particular notion of something is good for something and something is not good for something. I'm sorry to say that. Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prahlad. I must say your students must consider themselves very lucky for having such an empathetic lecturer for themselves. And we spoke of empathy with Ms. Jessica as well. So we have another question from our audience.
Sorry, Shamara, I may add something here. So from a leadership point of view, I do emergenities profiling of the brain, not the biological, the thinking and behavior preference for my students. We're all unique. We need to know what we are first. Then we learn what we want. So to be frank with you, I was a saint during my schools. I don't look here, there, because I cannot memorize. My memory is extremely bad. That's why I use PowerPoint. But I was a rank holder because I became a saint, a sannyasi during my school days. And my brothers are exactly the same. They could not become a sannyasi, they failed miserably. So our thinking preference, if you can do emergenities profiling, I suggest that. I use it extensively to understand oneself, to understand others, and how do you interact, and how do you understand somebody is speaking from what angle. So earlier I mentioned, I don't want to really confine to any space. I'm coming from a certain perspective. And if somebody has to understand that, you need to know why I'm saying that. So I always suggest, and I do emergenities profiling for my nieces and nephews, my friends' children across the world, whoever comes to me, and I tell them, you know your child. Let your child know who he is or who she is, and don't make them follow the fathers and mothers and grandmas and grandfathers' aims and scopes. And I made some of them to switch from engineering to medicine, somebody from engineering to arts. So that is the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prahlad. Yes, being a psychologist myself, I can truly attest with what you said. We call it self-reflection in our own terms, that we have to be self-reflective of what we want and not be influenced by many others around us. So yes, thinking cognition is something I too relate closely with. So thank you for bringing that into light. So we have another question from the audience, and I would like to direct this to Mr. V.K. Mathew, since he's a travel man and a prominent figure in the travel industry. So Mr. Matthews, there is a question for you. What is the barrier in travel industry to embrace digitalization, which is currently at 10% only?
Yeah, I don't think there is an intentional barrier or resistance for digitization, except that if you, just for the benefit of everybody, that I can say, if I take aviation industry as part of the travel industry, it's one of the sectors that has actually used technology at the very early stages because of their geographical operations. So they had to use technology starting from telex and telegrams because of their international kind of operations. Technology was used from a very, very early time, and it was most of the systems used. That's why we say legacy system used were built during the last 40, 50 years. And these systems are very mission critical. Some of them onboard systems and most of them are support systems. And replacing them, for example, if you are going to replace the flight and crew operation disruption management system, it's quite an intense one. It's like an open heart surgery. So therefore, a lot of CIOs would like to leave it to the next CIO to do it, not in their term or in their watch. So maybe because of the mission criticality and complexity, there's a delay. But of late, things are becoming much, much more different. And I can say some of the concepts, see, every enterprise is trying to become a technology or a digital enterprise, and which is, and aviation industry or travel industry is no different. I can see there's a clean division between the production part and the consumption part. That means companies which produce travel supplies, like airlines have travel seat, hospitality companies have hotel rooms, car hire companies, cruise companies, events companies, and all of those. And enterprises are trying to become virtual enterprises where you pick up the travel supplies on one side, aggregate it, personalize, package it, and deliver to the consumer. Now, for instance, the reason why British Airways is operating an airline or Emirates is operating an airline is probably because it is good for them to do it. But at some point in time, they don't need to necessarily operate themselves. They should be able to actually provide that, aggregate that from somebody who is very good at it. For example, the world has only 40,000 flying planes today. And for flying 40,000 planes around the world, you don't need 700 companies. That doesn't give economies of scale. Yeah, you don't need that many number of. So on the one side, how do you bring in economies of scale, operations excellence to produce travel supplies, and technologies allow now? And on the other side, we have the consumers, the travelers. How do you amplify their consumption behavior? So I become the brand. I am brand Emirates, so I'm brand Qantas, I'm brand American. And And I have on the one side travel supply producers and on the other side the consumers. So that is the digital travel enterprise kind of concept, which will have personalization, direct to consumer, disintermediation, and the third one, virtualization, meaning aggregation from others. So the most of the technology developments that we do, or that the technology companies who work for travel industry do, is to enable and support some of these trends. So travel industry is not behind, but again, post-COVID is quite interesting. Post-COVID is not only to make travel safer, to make travel exciting and better is a norm. So there's a lot of technology adoption. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Matthews, for that crisp and, in fact, very relatable explanation. So we have more questions coming in from our audience, and our audience is thoroughly loving this panel discussion. So there is yet another question for Dr. Prahlad. One of our audience has, members of the audience have a bit of a concern. Initially, you mentioned for buying and selling Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, we need to open an account in cryptocurrency trading platform and transfer money from our bank account to this account. So Mr. Prahlad, you told once Bitcoin and cryptocurrency started, people start using it in the future, banks will not be required. And the member is asking, how is this possible? Because most of the common people trust traditional systems like banks. So how would we come about resolving this issue?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. My son asked me the other day, 2 weeks back, he's in Kochi, Dad, I'm going to buy Ethereum. I said, go ahead. So if 100 crores is really transacted in Kerala, you imagine how that is happening. It is across the world. It's happening silently. It is happening. It's like a piranha. And at the bottom, it will rain and suddenly it will surface. So this is what I believe. And I saw also PM Modi mentioned about something about cryptocurrency being controlled, managed, accepted by democracies yesterday or day before. So I do not know the policy side beyond a point. But if you're asking how we adopt it, we may not adopt it or adopt it. But the young minds, I think Mr. Matthews was saying, they are totally different. I talk to my nieces and nephews every Sunday for the last 2 years. They are in Seattle, Ireland, Goa, Chennai, Bangalore, Kerala. They are totally different. They are the millennials. Their mindsets are different. They don't have biases like us. We are biased because of, I'm not talking about the religious bias. We are all orthodox in our every day-to-day life. You don't have to bring in religion then to really say we are biased. So these people, they don't read, say, the language, their mother tongue television. They don't, they don't listen to those things. They are totally living in a different world. And, yeah, and they don't care about our biases. They don't worry about, and I'll tell you, even the morality is different.
Professor Prahlad, I can tell you, I can relate to that very well. In fact, a friend of mine from Portugal has sent his son, who is studying in Switzerland, to me in Dubai to change this kind of a blinded following of Bitcoin. He sent him to Dubai, and I tried to speak to him, and his reaction was, so I asked my friend Joachim, what did your son say? So he said, this guy, your friend, is totally, I consider him as an ignorant man. So my attempt to dissuade him has actually gone the other way around. Yeah.
So in fact, I think one thing I like about AI and all these things is that the world will see innovations anywhere in the world. And it can be in Africa. It can be in a remote village in India. And intelligence is not tied to education. Intelligence has nothing to do with a degree. Intelligence is inborn and what is cultivated and what is really managed within one. And I believe that across the world, there are a lot of algorithms given open source. Somebody can, from anywhere, has the access. That's why internet accessibility is very important. He or she can use it and make a whole lot of difference. And the world will become more flat or better, and distribution of certain things will be different. That's my hope. And I saw Jessica's comment here. Absolutely, very nicely put, Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prahlad, for that detailed explanation. Thinking about it, reflecting upon it, yes, the youngsters these days, they tend to ask a lot of questions. I think that's a good thing for our generation. So speaking of which, since I'm bringing up the topic of youngsters and we have an educator here with us, I would like to direct this question to you, Ms. Jessica. What would you say are the common misconceptions of AI that people have, and how would we combat these misconceptions? I'm sure you must be getting a lot of questions from your students, and how do you tackle those questions?
I think that first off, that people don't realize how much AI is already involved in our day-to-day lives. And doesn't matter what generation you're talking about. You know, we're doing this Zoom thing. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. As far as I'm concerned, magic and fairies are making this happen. I know that that's not true, but you get my meaning. So I think a lot of people, my mother has a smartphone. She's 70 years old, and all she does on it is use it as a phone. She does all of her computing on her computer. And I'm like, Mom, this is bigger and stronger than what you're currently using. But she doesn't understand that. So I think that's one of the major misconceptions. I think there's also, you have two different types when we're talking about Generation Zers and people who are born into the digital era. If you grew up playing video games, I think you probably have a better idea of what is capable in AI and the potential. And I think you probably have some kind of an innate awareness. However, because there is, I agree with Professor Prahlad, the biggest challenge is really dealing with accessibility to technology, access. You know, where I am, we have 5 satellite schools, all in very rural communities, some communities that don't even have 1,000 people in them. And we're talking from baby to great grandma. So until we can create full accessibility, I think that there is going to be challenges when it comes to understanding and appreciating and driving forward those innovations that were spoken of earlier. As far as dealing with my students when it comes to AI, I think we, being a technical college, we do a lot of upskilling. We have apprenticeship programs. So we tend to, and we have a lot of manufacturing in our area. So I think many of our students are challenged by the concept of AI and of automation and the idea that a robot can do the job of several people, or that you can literally run a factory lights off 24/7 if need be. So it's really about increasing that awareness and that understanding, and teaching to the fact that that AI is a benefit. AI is going to allow you to use that big, beautiful brain that you have to be creative and to be to work on real life issues, because we're taking away the mundane. No matter how complex that mundane may be, we're removing that so that human capital and human ingenuity can be put back in the forefront, which is what I think we need.
Thank you very much, Miss Jessica, for that wonderful insight. I would like to ask one last question from Miss Nikki. Do you have a different perspective on that same question from what I asked Miss Jessica, from the respective region you are from?
And the question was, is education doing enough?
No, the common misconceptions that you tend to hear of AI, and what would you do to combat these misconceptions?
Right, so across Africa, right, there is a large group of people who know exactly what AI is, the people who are in industry, the people who are in businesses, the people who have been educated. The challenge is that there is such a big portion of the African population who, yeah, they may have a phone, but it doesn't have the capacity that most of the phones that you and I have. It's not even a misconception about AI. They just don't understand the technology changes that happened in mine and your lives 20 years ago, I'm guessing, Jessica. So the changes that are happening now are just completely out of this world. They probably have never even seen a series of Star Trek. So it's not I think that within the educated population and the population that are already transformed, I don't think there is a great deal of misconception about AI. We've been exposed to it. We know the impact that it's going to have, and we're open to it, and we understand the opportunities that it creates, and in some instances, the jobs that it creates. But there's just such a huge portion of the African population that are still struggling with where their next meal might come from, and walking kilometers and kilometers to get water. That, you know, it's just so different. I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Shamara.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Nikki. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very informative, educational, insightful session. All thanks to our panelists here today. So thank you, Dr. Prahlad, Ms. Nikki, Dr. Soloman, Ms. Jessica, and Mr. Matthews for sparing some of your valuable time to come be with us here today. I myself, to be very honest, was skeptical coming into this meeting, not knowing whether this was going to be too technical for my understanding, but you all have done a phenomenal job in making even the faintest of people understand what's happening in the world very clearly, and we all have done it in a crisp and concise manner. Thank you very much for that. And to re-emphasize what Dr. Prahlad said, yes, we have to, as human beings, we are gifted with a brain after all. We do have our neocortex. We have to make use of that, and we have to be ahead of time. And with truth being based on knowledge, let's make sure as knowledge changes, the truth changes, and we too reform as human beings. With having said that, I would like to hand the virtual control of this section back to our Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Malika.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shamara, and dear panelists, for that engrossing session. On behalf of Division O team, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our keynote speaker, esteemed panelists, and our 94 million attendees who logged in from different corners of the world for your virtual presence. Let us now applaud and honor our valued guests for their invaluable services to this wonderful fraternity. I request our distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Prahlad, to accept a token of appreciation from us. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause to our keynote speaker, Dr. Prahlad. I now invite our esteemed panelist, Dr. Soloman Almadi, to accept our token of appreciation. Let's hear it for him. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our next renowned panelist, Mr. V.K. Mathews. Let us give a huge round of applause to our next panelist, Ms. Nikki Quinn. Lastly, I would request our esteemed panelist, Ms. Jessica Benton, to accept the token of appreciation. Thank you, everyone. We have been honored to have few more dignitaries amongst us, and we would not miss this opportunity to hear from them. It's a privilege to invite an eminent personality from Indian Foreign Services Embassy of India, Riyadh, who is presently the Second Secretary, Economic and Commercial. Please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Asim Anwar.
Thank you, Ms. Malika. Good evening to everyone. And I'm sure everyone benefited from this extremely useful panel discussion. And of course, unfortunately, I joined late due to some other engagements. But from what I could gather, what I heard in the latter half of the panel discussion, it was extremely useful. And I'm sure the youth of today would have really benefited from the insights which our esteemed panel provided on the future of jobs and, in fact, the role of AI and automation in this. I can tell you from my personal experience, though I am a diplomat now, I am a computer science graduate. I did my computer science engineering 2 decades ago. And at that time, IT was actually considered a niche vertical. And AI was one subject we studied in the semester in the latter half of our graduation. It was a very niche course. And not many people really paid attention to that. Of course, we all knew that it had a lot of future, but then it was very niche and not too many people took up a career after. But if I look back now, 20 years hence, I can say that IT and AI is not just a niche vertical. It's actually become a horizontal in many ways. It is not something which is only for high-end technical graduates to know about. It's something which all of us know, all of us need to know. Anyone who's looking for a role in today's complex economy needs to have an understanding of IT and AI. And the schools in Saudi Arabia, the Indian schools particularly, where I am associated with as a representative of the embassy, we keep telling our students that IT is not just a niche subject that you may or may not want to study. It's not an option anymore. All of you need to be equipped with the knowledge, even if you don't get into coding and some of the high-end skills, at least you need to know how AI impacts us in our day-to-day lives, because eventually that has, as the panel has very, very eloquently talked about, it has changed. It is not just, it has actually changed the job market in many ways, and it will continue to do so over the decades to come. And as the younger generation now moves into entry-level jobs, and then as they grow into their career into the middle management, they'll realize that their own success in their respective careers will really depend on how they leverage these skills and their knowledge in AI and automation in general. So again, I want to say like to thank the organizers, Toastmasters International Division O, for organizing this very, very timely webinar, especially after the effects of the pandemic as they are slowly being lifted. I think we really needed to understand where the world is going ahead after a hiatus of nearly 1.5 years. So I think this is very timely. I congratulate you on organizing this very, very informative webinar. And most importantly, I would like to thank the esteemed panelists for doing a great job and really educating our attendees this evening. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Embassy of India, Riyadh, I would like to extend my heartiest congratulations to the organizers and the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Asim, for gracing us with your presence and for sharing your valuable views. We are honored to have another dignitary, International Director, Region 11, DTM Ali Shehbaz Ali. Sir, could you please share your views?
Madam Master of Ceremonies, I was enjoying sitting as being a part of the audience, but our amazing DOD, Albin, was telling me that you need to speak a few words. Uh, I don't, I'm not sure if the DD and PQD are here. I see CGD Palini Raj and IPDD Maddie, district leaders and members, friends, panelists. I have 2 meetings going on. Let me tell you honestly, this one got my attention. So I was just enjoying the discussion going on, and me being a professor who day in and day out teaches artificial intelligence, robotics, cloud computing. So definitely since 2012, when I taught the first subject, I remember when the Amazon pack came in my office, nobody dared to open that box and see what's in it because the college said, who would come forward and start teaching cloud computing? It was a whole new concept. I took the box, I opened it up, and I said, let me give it a try. In 6 months, we had the servers, virtual servers running up, Microsoft Azure, Amazon, and so much was done. And today, when we look back, we laugh about things because I became a lab rat setting up the whole server room and seeing where we go from here. In 2021, today, I see a huge change. But what I enjoy is we as Toastmasters or aspirers for public speaking and communication, we do the same thing whatever happens. Once I told our CEO, Dan Ricks, I have a dream to have a club with robots and human beings. He laughed about it. I told him maybe someday it might happen. We might keep a robot to count our ahs and yani, khalas, all that stuff. So for the non-Arabs, yani and khalas are slang Arabic terms which we use here. So definitely industry is changing. When students come and ask me, I'm a marketing graduate, should I give up on marketing and go and join the IT college? My message to these students are, don't get worried. Just do what you want to do. You love music, go for art. You love marketing, go for marketing. Don't change just because AI is up and it's coming. Don't give on petrol cars when Tesla is out there. Let nature take its own course. Do what you want to do. Don't just buy Bitcoins, and if you don't believe in them, do your own research and then dive into this pool, because the ocean is so big. Youngsters, they get confused. And I've seen this students changing their fields whenever something new comes. Marketing students want digital marketing. They don't want to study the normal marketing concepts. So I recommend to youngsters, do what you want to do and let the engineers do the migration for us. We don't migrate data. We have people to migrate data. So I seriously enjoyed, and so much is there to talk, but I'm here as an attendee. Thank you, Albin, for having me. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, Master of Ceremonies, Malika.
That was truly inspirational. And that too, to hear it from an visionary leader like you, such inspiring words, it really boosts our morale. Thank you so much, DTM Mali Shehbaz. Next, I would like to invite District 79 Club Growth Director, DTM Palni Raj, to share his insights.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, for giving this opportunity. First of all, I thank our DOD, Toastmaster Albin, for conducting this wonderful workshop, organizing this wonderful workshop for our members. This is definitely one of its kind. It is not the normal workshop which we normally hear about Toastmaster speeches, Toastmaster table topics, or evaluation. And immediately after the pandemic, this kind of workshop will motivate most of our youngsters and as well as the professionals to look at things differently. So these things are very, very innovative in terms of presentation point of view. So thanks, Toastmaster Albin, for giving this opportunity to listen and embrace ourselves with the different panelists. Thank you very much, and wonderful panelists today. Thank you very much to all the panelists, and a special thanks to our region 11 Director, DTM Ali Shabazz, and our immediate past Program Quality Director and immediate past Division District Director to be there and encourage all our audience members. Thank you very much, and over to you, Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you so much, DTM Palniraj. It's time now to invite our debonair immediate past Division Director, DTM Madhusha Nanakara, who played a vital role in organizing today's event. Let's hear it from him.
Thank you, Toastmaster Malika. Of course, it's a great pleasure to be a Division Director of Division O in the past. And at the same time, happy to be the immediate past as we organize this fantastic event. And from the event, I captured a couple of keywords: language, interpersonal skills, and technology. I believe those three would be the foundation for any job at the present as well as in the future. Dear Division O Director, Toastmaster Albin, wonderful. Thank you so much for organizing this event. All the district leaders, especially the Club Growth Director and immediate past Program Quality Director, DTM Palani and DTM Rami, thank you for being here to, as DTM Palani correctly mentioned, to motivate our members and people who are yet to become Toastmasters. But I really must appreciate our keynote speaker, Professor Prahlad, and our panelists, wonderful panelists. Before I thank you, these panelists, I have to share the story or the initial conversations between Toastmaster Albin and myself. Well, when he suggested that we invite Professor Prahlad to be the keynote speaker to conduct just a seminar, I said that now it's an opportunity for us to have this panel discussion as well, because this is something that I had in my mind for some time. And I said, let's invite a panelist from North America. Let's invite a professional from Africa or Europe. And let's join our good hands with another outstanding personnel from the Middle East. And then let's connect with the Far East and Southeast. So I think today we connected globally. So Dr. Soloman, Nikki, Mathew, Jessica, you were wonderful panelists. And because of you, I think we achieved all the objectives that we had in our minds, and our members also benefited a lot. So coming back to our topic, the jobs. Well, as you all know, I left the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia seeking these opportunities in Canada. So Jessica, hopefully in a matter of few days, I'll be seeing you in person, and I'm excited about it. But the idea is that it is up to us to diversify ourselves, because the future of jobs is not about or just about specializing technically, but also about selling yourself and diversifying your skills, talents, so that the world will benefit more from your service. That's something that I always believe, and that is why I also use this platform, Toastmasters, to diversify my skill set and my talents. So thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed. District 79 always performs as an example to the rest of the world, and today also we did that. So I wholeheartedly thank the Division O team and all our wonderful members for putting together a wonderful show and presenting it with such professionalism. Thank you. And you are wonderful too, Toastmaster Malika. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Immediate Past District Director, DTM Madhusha, for coming up with this wonderful initiative, which definitely has added a lot of value to all of us. I would now request our immediate past PQD, DTM Rami Al-Jawad, to share his views.
Thank you so much, MOC. Great, Toastmaster Malika, International Director, DTM Ali Shahbaz, Division O Director, my brother and great friend, Albin Joseph, immediate past district director, DTM Madhusha Nadhekara, global growth director, DTM Palini Raj, and all the rest of the great leaders, area director, division director, the members. First of all, I really would like to thank every individual and role taker and for the team, the leadership and organizing team, led by amazing, inspiring Division O Director, Albin Joseph, for conducting this enriching event. It is really great to spotlight the future of jobs, the challenges, the fears of the IR.4, which is the Industrial Revolution R4 that will replace a lot of jobs, but no worries, there will be always more innovative opportunities for you to work and to get more careers. And to the leaders, I have to really to thank the keynote speaker, the panelists, and everyone. It has been a great show. I have to also acknowledge the presence of the support from the international director for being here, the immediate past district director who left us to Sri Lanka, but he's still in our heart, and to our CGD and all the great leaders who really supported this event. It created an enriching events. Thank you so much. Hats off to the Division O team. Keep inspiring us. And back to you, MOC, Toastmaster Malika.
Thank you so much, DTM Rami Al-Jawad. We would have loved to hear from many more esteemed members, but due to paucity of time, I regret that we cannot invite any more members. Dear attendees, a webinar of this magnitude cannot be carried out without the assistance of a professional team. We are proud to state that we have managed to pull off today's event successfully with the ardent support of many committed individuals who have been working round the clock behind the scenes. Let's applaud and honor their invaluable services to this wonderful fraternity. To give the vote of thanks, let me invite on the virtual platform an elegant and passionate Toastmaster who's currently the Vice President Public Relations of Eloquent Speakers Toastmasters Club. She's an accounting and psychology teacher and a student council advisor. She's passionate about inclusive education and empowering girls. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Seema Mumtaz Rizvi.
Thank you, Toastmaster Malika. Respected Region 11 Advisor DTM Ali Shahbaz Ali, District 79 Director DTM Abdul Ghafoor, Program Quality Director DTM Sadia Khan, Club Growth Director DTM Palni Raj, dignitaries, leaders, Toastmasters, and dear valued guests, a very good evening to all of you. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires a lot of planning and the bird's eye for minutest details. We have been very fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated members. First of all, I would like to thank District 79 leaders and would like to express our sincere gratitude to our immediate past District 79 Director, DTM Madhusha Nanayakara, for conceptualizing this webinar, and Division O Director Toastmaster Albin Joseph for executing it so professionally. We are very grateful to our keynote speaker, Dr. Prahlad Vadakkepat, who has taken out his precious time to grace this occasion to give valuable insights about the future of jobs to have a positive impact on our young audience. We would like to thank Mr. Asim Anwar, IFS Second Secretary, Economic and Commercial Embassy of India, Riyadh, for gracing the event with his valuable presence. Another heartfelt thank you goes to all distinguished panelists, Dr. Soloman Almadi, Mr. V.K. Matthews, Ms. Nikki Quinn, and Ms. Jessica Benton, who have given their valuable input in today's webinar. A sincere thank you goes to the tech team to make this event flow without any technical glitches. Here, I would like to specially mention Toastmaster DTM Rao, Sir, and TM Toastmaster Roselle for helping us. A huge appreciation goes to all our reverend guests who attended this webinar. This event was carried out flawlessly by our Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Malika Mada, and our moderator, Toastmaster Shamara Azhar. I would like to thank all the role players to make this event successful. This was a very highly invaluable and informative session, as you will all agree with me. Until we meet again, this is Toastmaster Seema Rizvi signing off. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep smiling. With this, the meeting comes to an end. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
If anyone wants to share any of their views, you're most welcome.
Shall we have a group picture?
Yeah, we can. No, group picture.
I would like to request to please put on your cameras now. Would like to take a beautiful picture. Dear everyone, may I request you to please put on your camera quickly so that we can take a group photo and we can have some snacks at our own places. I am hungry, so please come up quickly. Dear Adil Khan, DTM Irfan Khan, Sridhar, DTM Ansimani, DTM Madhushanana Ekara, Chokli Abdulaziz, Salim, Ashik Nazir, Toastmaster Ashik Nazir, Toastmaster Riaz, please put on your camera. Otherwise, I need to take with your, okay. Please smile and raise your thumb for the success of this event. And I'm going to take first screen. We have two screens. 1, 2. Just a minute, please. Our second screen. Toastmaster Sridhar, Toastmaster Salim, Toastmaster Ansar, Toastmaster Ashraf. Yeah, no problem. Kindly come, put on your cameras on. Last screen. Wow, Mrs. Albin Joseph, welcome. Okay. Okay, please raise your thumb. 1, 2. Thank you so much. So nice of you all. See you all in the next great event of District 79.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica, for sparing your time all this while. Thank you, everyone. आपने end करेगा meeting?